It's literally the day after Thanksgiving, and I can finally let my Christmas-loving flag fly. Playing as much Christmas music as I want, singing all the Christmas tunes I feel like, and painting little Christmassy scenes. I did this quick little guy and I recorded the whole thing. I thought it'd be nice to show how I did it in case you wanted to follow along and maybe make this little painting for like your grandma or your aunt who loves your stuff. Maybe you can paint it on the front of like a thick piece of paper and make it into a nice Christmas card for somebody special. So I'm gonna show you how I made this little painting. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. It's literally November 29th. Merry Christmas. Okay, I'm gonna get started. This is a piece of, what is this? This is a canvas panel. It's basically some canvas on a piece of cardboard. It's by Arteza? However the hell you say their name. Super cheap. It's a really nice practice board if you just want to be like practicing painting, or if you're giving like a cheap little gift to somebody. I mean, not cheap, it's not a cheap gift. It's a nice practice board and it's very inexpensive, which is, here are my colors. Titanium white, ultramarine blue, quinacridone red, and yellow medium azo. It doesn't matter if you have the exact same colors as me. Just a darker blue, a red, and a yellow and white are gonna be just fine. Don't worry about having the exact same things as me. We're working in acrylics today. We're gonna mix our colors as we go along because they dry pretty fast. Usually when I do oils, I mix them first and then start painting. This we're gonna do as we go along. I'm gonna mix up what our sky is gonna be. So it's gonna go from dark to light, like sky to snow kind of color, and we're gonna make a little gradient. So I need to make my sky color first. I'm gonna take a bunch of this one. This ultramarine blue I have right here is chunky. Do you see that? Chunky. What the hell? Mix that right on up. And this is a very vibrant blue. I'm not quite vibing with this very vibrant blue. I want it to be a little more muted, like maybe there's a snowstorm that's rolled in. It's kind of darker out. So I'm gonna add in the color orange because that is the opposite of blue on the color wheel and mutes it. And I don't have orange, so I'm just adding a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow. And mute it down a little bit, and I want that to be more muted. More. So I'm gonna take more red and more yellow. I actually have two different color blues here. This is a phthalo blue, and this is an ultramarine blue. I just happen to have this new phthalo blue and I wanted to try it out. But if you don't have it, that's no worries. It's a little more tealy. Ooh, but I got way too tealy. Way too, so we gotta add more red. And I'm mixing up a lot of this because I have a big old canvas to work with here. And as we go along, I'm gonna be adding white to it so we can create a gradient. Because we're working with acrylics, if it starts to get a little bit dry, add a little bit of water. But take your time to get this color the way you want it to look. A little more red and yellow, making the color orange so I can mute it. If you have any questions about color mixing, you might want to check out my video called How to Mix Colors. And we're getting there closer. I'm going to add a little more of this ultramarine. So I'm gonna take a big old brush. I'm gonna take a little bit of water, get it a little bit wet. Go into my paints here. Some of that on my brush. And I'm gonna start covering up this top part. And then I want to start blending pretty quick because I don't want that to dry yet. I'm going to add some white. Mix that in here. Start blending these a little bit. And then again. And again, lots of white. Trying to cover up any spots that might be blank. I've got a little spot here. Whoops. Whoops. Okay, made a mistake, made a mistake. A little bit of this. And better. I might be getting some excess paint on the sides. That's okay. That's okay. I'm gonna go with straight white. Still using this just plain dirty brush. If you want, you can clean it, but I kind of want some of those colors to be picked up on that brush. Give some texture. I let this dry for a few minutes. I'm gonna go back in with that dark blue I had originally, and I'm gonna do one more layer just to clean it up a bit and see if I can do a little more blending darker colors as I go down. I've added more water to this too. Darker as I go down is what I wanted. And maybe I'll take like a soft brush with a little bit of water on it and blend out some of these bits. Yeah. There we go. Don't worry about this being perfectly smooth. I let this dry, just dry enough to touch. And now we're gonna go in and put a couple distant pine trees. We've got here this color I mixed up that's just dark enough to stand out a little. I actually might make it just a smidge darker with some of my dark blue. I like to compare with my palette knife the color I want to put on. Yeah, just something like that. It's this color right here that I'm gonna use to make a couple distant pine trees. So we're gonna take a brush. All right, I'm gonna make a couple, kind of somewhere near like the halfway point. Ooh, that's even darker than I thought. I'm gonna lighten that. I'm lighting that up just a little bit because that was darker than I wanted it to be. You can always do that. The cool thing with acrylics is that it dries super fast. If you did a color that ended up not being what you wanted it to be, or you make a mistake, you can cover that right up. That's better. Pretty light. Maybe I'll add a couple little down-facing branches like this. And maybe one that's next to it, like there. A little bit taller. Kind of making like a triangle shape. And then having little wisps of branches coming off it. Remember, these are in the distance. You're not going to see too much detail. So don't worry about making it too extravagant. Just do like a nice little line, turn it into a triangle, and then have a couple of these guys coming off it. Nothing too fancy. Pretty simple and pretty quick. Alrighty, so now we want to go and make trees that are just a little bit closer to us, so they're going to be a tiny bit darker. So I'm going to take a little more of this dark blue I still have from when I did that sky, and I'm going to mix it into this lighter color right there. Just like that. Well, I think I'm going to go a little darker, but always paint over it because they dry pretty dang fast. So I'm going to make my skinny little, I think I might want even darker. Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit darker even. And it'll darken once it dries, acrylics darken a little more. Okay, there we go. Let's add a couple little branches. Remember, don't worry about too much detail. We're building in our little forest here. I'm gonna make that little triangle. And then swipe the little branches off it. Just like that. I think I'm gonna go just one more shade darker. In fact, I think I'll just go in with this dark blue here. And I'm gonna make one tree right there, and maybe one right there. You'll see that I'm covering up some of the trees in the background with some of these other trees. That is totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. We are creating layers here. And it is okay if just like the tiniest little bit of our background trees peek out. See, our trees have gotten bigger as we've moved forward in our painting. That's because they've gotten much closer to us. Now we've made some trees to show that we're in kind of a little forest here. We're going to start focusing on the main attraction, which is our Christmas tree. So I'm going to take a bunch of blue, some red, and yellow, and we're going to try and make a very, very dark, almost teal kind of color. It's gonna be a very dark color. So dark, dark, dark teal. And this is what we're gonna use to draw the first color of our Christmas tree. And add just the tiniest little bit of white to this. Tiny little bit. There we go. Taking our same brush we used to make these guys. And we're gonna start shaping in our Christmas tree. So I want to get the center of the Christmas tree drawn first. So I'm just going to go in straight in the middle. I'm going to make this Christmas tree right in the center. And I'm just going to drag this down to about maybe there. So that's the top of our tree, and this is the bottom of our tree. Right, so let's pretend this is our trunk. It's the trunk of our tree. So around this trunk, let's start putting in our branches. We're just taking little slightly downward facing lines, and we're tapping them on there, letting our brush flick a little bit, having those individual hairs create tiny little needles for us. So we're not going in and making each little needle one at a time. Don't quite have time for that today. Plus, if you're making this for your grandma, I'm sure you're making other things for other people. And you don't have time to draw each little individual needle, so this is nice. Creating bigger branches as we move down the tree. It gets wider. And it doesn't have to be even on both sides. Trees do not grow exactly even. Sometimes they grow bigger on one side, sometimes some of their branches are really long, and the one next to it is very, very short. They all look different, so don't worry about trying to make your tree look perfect. Trees aren't perfect, but they're beautiful nonetheless. Bottom, let some of those little branches flick down, like that. And then you can fill in spaces that you want. Maybe add little parts that stick up a smidge. Look at those little branches stick up just a little bit. Make sure it's pretty filled in. Make sure these branches look pretty dark. All right, and we're gonna let that dry for a little bit. This is almost done drying here. And while I'm waiting, I'm gonna put a little bit of a shadow underneath our tree here. Blue here, darker blue. Well, it's a light blue, obviously, but making a little bit of a shadow. But just where this tree is sitting. Maybe the light's coming a little bit from this direction. Can you tell where I'm coming from? This way. So maybe the shadow's behind the tree a little bit more. Just a little something. It can be very small, but things like this really help out with realism. Just a very subtle shadow there. You know what I think would be cute? You could take the same shadow color and maybe make little footprints in the snow. That'd be really cute, huh? Should I do that? I'm gonna do it. Some little footprints in the snow while we're waiting. Maybe somebody went walking by here, checked out the Christmas tree for a sec. Maybe they had a little doggy with them. So I'm gonna make some little paw prints in the snow too. Just kind of little indications of what maybe a little paw print would look like in the snow. Like they were walking around with their little pup. You can make whatever kind of footprints you want, or you don't have to make any. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a white highlight in some of these areas where the snow maybe got pushed up a little bit. Kind of just experimenting here for fun. Sometimes you'll have the idea to put something in your painting, but you won't actually do it because you're scared of messing it up or making it not look good. And I understand that, and I feel that way often too, but today I felt like taking the risk. I'll never learn how to paint snow prints if I don't try first. Look at that. They will walk in the snow with their puppy. Go check out this beautiful Christmas tree that's almost done. Is this? Yeah. Oh, nope. Look at that. Not quite. Still waiting for that to dry. So in the meantime then, let's add a little bit more texture to our snow. Areas where the snow's a little uneven and the white is hitting it in different ways. Alright, but it's almost fully dry. So now we start mixing up the snow that we're going to put on this tree. So instead of making it just pure white, snow often reflects colors around it, and since there's so much blue happening around here, we're going to take our white and we're going to add some blue to it. And we're going to have two snow colors, a darker snow color where maybe there's a little more shadow, and a lighter snow color. After I put it all on there, again, I'm going to tweak my color. I want to darken it. Yeah, let's do that. That's going to be pretty. I'm going to be adding this slightly darker blue to mostly this half of the tree right here. On this side, it's going to be a little bit lighter. It's going to cross over a little bit. I'm just adding this white on the edges of where I'm imagining these little branches to be. So on the edge of those branches that we can obviously see there, covering up some of those, but also ones that are in the tree that we can't quite see because it's just a very dark teal color. I'm from California and I just moved to Ohio, which is pretty terrifying. Not that Ohio's scary in itself, but I'm not used to snow at all, and it snowed for the first time a few weeks ago, and it was so scary and so beautiful, and I loved it, and I'm hoping I will continue to love it as time goes by, because snow's a really neat thing. I never realized how how pretty it could be. Now I'm going to put on that darker color and wash my brush off. And we're going to go in with our lighter snow color right there. On the side that a little more highlighted by the sun. Imaginary sun, or whatever light source we've got going on here. Crossing over a little bit in the middle. See how putting this lighter color of snow makes our tree start to look a little more three-dimensional? There we go, very snowy tree. I didn't think about it before, but I kind of want these trees back here to have a little bit of snow on them. While we're waiting for this to dry, why don't we mix up a little bit of the darker blue to maybe make some snow for these trees right there. Let's see. That's too light. Gotta go darker. How's this? Oh, that's better. Let's add a little bit of snow to these trees. I'm only gonna worry about adding one color for this one. I don't need to do two-tone snow because they're in the distance. Those details are a little bit further away. Can't see them quite as well. There we go. Look at that. These trees have some nice snow on them now. I think I'm gonna do real quick. Let's do a third highlight color here on our tree. And just add some bits of super bright, pure titanium white. Not too much, I'm not overdoing it. Just putting in like almost little speckles. Now, just so you know, if you're painting this with me, I'm not using any reference photo for this. I am just making this little tree out of my imagination, so I don't have to worry about trying to make it perfect compared to a picture. And that's gonna dry for a little bit. I'm gonna add some more bright white parts down in the snow here. Those are drying up pretty quick. Okay, we want to get some pretty lights on this tree. The way we're gonna do this is we want to show that the lights are shining. So we want some kind of radiant light that's gonna come off it, which we're gonna do first before we do the actual lights. We're painting the light that is coming off the lights before we're actually putting the little bulbs on. For example, I want a beautiful shining star right at the top of my tree. So I'm gonna take this yellow, add just a little bit of white and lots of water. I'm gonna make it pretty thin because I want it to be kind of translucent. And then with that same watered down yellow, nice and watered down, it is very transparent. The more water that's in your acrylic paint, the more transparent it'll be. I'm gonna start putting on some very light, transparent dots of color. Like so. Just all over the tree, wherever I feel like. Whatever happens to be. And if it's a little too dark, you need to take a dab of it with your finger like this. All right, so then let's go in with red. A little bit of white, and I'm gonna super water it down. Very, very watered down until it's this like pinky kind of color. And you know, I think I want to yellow it up a little bit. I want to warm this red up. I'm gonna add some yellow. It needs to be a little warmer. Yeah, just like that. And I am dotting this around my tree as well. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating the light for my light bulbs before I'm actually putting my light bulbs in. And then let's do the same thing. Maybe a bright blue. I have this blue here. I'm gonna add plenty of water to it and some white. Just like so. And then I'm gonna dab that on my tree. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our colors. So let's start with yellow and make a nice light yellow color. So I'm taking white and yellow, and this time we're not gonna make it as see-through. We're gonna make this pretty thick paint. So we're not gonna add much water to it because we want it to stand out. But I'm gonna take this light yellow color that I mixed up there, see that? And I'm going to make a little star from the top of our tree. It just sits right up there. Make it a little more vibrant actually. There we go. And then we're gonna take this, where that I put light, that's a yellow color, I'm gonna add this little dot of yellow. Just me lighting up this yellow a little bit lighter. All right, and so let's go do the same thing with red. Taking the white, this, gonna add some red, like that. And I want to warm this red up a little bit, so I'm gonna add some yellow to it. And let's put that in. I want this to be more vibrant. Wherever we need a red light. There, there, right there, right there. And then, finally, we're gonna do our little blue lights. There we go. Then we got a pretty little Christmas tree. And all I want to do now is add some snow. So let's go take a thin brush. I don't want to do pure white. I'm going to do a little bit of a light blue. There we go. I'm going to take this, the tiny brush. I'm going to start dabbing in little bits of snow. And now I'm going to go in with a bright white and do some bigger snowflakes. And some of these can even go over our tree. Take as much time as you want for the snow. I'm going kind of quick here to speed things up. There we go. This is our Christmas tree scene. I think I'm gonna go in and add some more details to my little needles in my tree, so I'm gonna do that real quick, but you can call it done at this point if you want. Or go in and add whatever kind of details you want like me. This is my detail time. And here's my finished thing. It's fairly easy, so if you're a beginner to intermediate painter, it shouldn't be too hard for you. I hope you enjoyed this holiday painting, and I hope you come back and do some more paintings with me in the future. I'll see you around.